You present? So-
I'm here too.
Okay. Commissioner Walter Chuck present. We do have a quorum. Madam Chair, how would you like to introduce your tribal council?
I'm Dolores Pigsley, chairman of the Tribal Council. Bud Lane is on the line. He's the vice chairman. I assume Buddy Lane is on,
Yes, I'm
Yes,
here.
yeah, sorry.
and I heard Lorraine Butler's name. I don't know who else is on.
I'm on. Reggie's on.
That was somebody else.
That was
It
Reg.
says
He's here.
Reggie.
Reg.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. And Angela Sundana, our natural resource director, is on, although I don't see her.
She is. And Curtis
Yeah.
Barker, our CEO, is also on.
Okay, good.
Okay. Welcome. And I really appreciate this time to share with you and sit down and have a conversation. Um, I'll let you start, Madam Chair. You have something regarding tribal land acquisition. Would you like to
Yeah,
discuss?
yes, and I thank you for the meeting. And I know we normally have an annual meeting where we sit down and discuss many items, but we thought that it was important for us to let the county commissioners know what the tribe has been doing for the past year, but most recently, we have asked that our congressional delegation take a look at our tribe, and we're asking for some lands to be restored to the tribe that total about 100,000 acres. And back in the day when the tribe was restored, we were restored with 3,600 acres, and that was to sustain us forever. And we all know how far that has gone. Um, we actually had requested BLM lands before to the tune of about 45,000 acres. And at that time, this was about 20 years ago, we were told other tribes had land requests in and they would be fulfilled. And then we would get back to Siletz. And so here we are, we're back. We're looking at 100,000 acres, mostly Forest Service and BLM land in Lincoln County. And currently, as you know, the land has seen little management as far as the Forest Service because their staff has pretty much been decimated. We have met with them and talked about the land and the issues on some of the land, but we have proven that we are good stewards of the land. It's land that was ours, that was taken illegally back in the day. And so our Congresswoman Val Hoyle has agreed to introduce a land bill, and we would be happy to share it with you when we have the wording down for the legislation. We'd also be happy to share the maps once we have the maps finalized for you. And so moving forward, we're asking Val Hoyle to introduce the bill. We want the county to know, since it doesn't affect the county, I don't believe. I don't know if the county gets any revenue off of this land. I don't think you do, but you would know that. But that's our plan. Bud or Buddy can talk a little bit about the history of this land, where it's located, and how it's currently being used or not used. And Angela, I invite you also to join in.
Well, just quickly, our original reservation in 1855, when it was established, was 1.1 million acres, and it ran from the Siltcoos River up to Tillamook Head. Cape, what is the Cape up there? I can't remember the name of
It's
it.
Tillamook Head.
Yeah.
Yep.
But anyway, it was reduced over several different congressional actions. And the land in question is all within our original 1855 boundary. And it happens all to be in Lincoln County also. So these lands were taken from us by the stroke of a pen. They've remained in the federal government's hands all along. So we're not really looking at it as a gift. It's really a return of lands that were taken and are rightfully Silet's land. So I think we've titled it the Land Restoration Act. And so there's all kinds of nuances about what happened, how Lincoln County was carved out of what was declared surplus land. Um, uh, a lot of this land that's in question. And I'll let Buddy talk a little bit about some of that history too. But it's just the point I wanted to make is that it is land that were taken from us illegally and in violation of several laws, and we're just asking that it be returned back to us.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but the Cape you were referencing is Cape Lookout, and it
Yes,
was due
that's it.
west of Tillamook, and so those boundaries, it's a 100-mile stretch of the Oregon coast, and rapidly reduced over 20 years. Three-quarters of it would be reduced via executive order and an act of Congress. But the Allotment Act, which was passed in 1892 and implemented in the following years, coincides with Lincoln County's creation. And um, a whole bunch of land went out of our hands in surplus, which he mentioned. And uh, uh, following that, there were other specific legislation that was passed, the Silet's Inherited Lands Act, which also helped speed along the transfer of lands outside of our ancestors' hands. And you can look at these if you get on the Oregon Historical newspaper website, which is open to the public. You can view Lincoln County Leader newspaper clippings from the day that just have sheets of Indian land for sale, and it's a direct result of those pieces of legislation. And then it runs up to termination. And after 56, we are left with, after 1956 and the Western Oregon Termination Act, we're left with zero lands in our possession. So going from 20 million acres, what is Western Oregon, to a reservation of 1.1 million acres, and then over a 100-year period being left with nothing after the 1950s. So the lands we're talking about exist entirely within Lincoln County, and they are lands that were ours before treaty time. They were ours during reservation time and allotment time, but that history of them being whittled away. So we have a deep connection to them. And uh, I agree with Madam Chairman. I don't believe the lands we're talking about produced for Lincoln County. It will be interesting and insightful to hear your guys' take on it. But we've looked for things that the Forest Service have just kind of left alone for lots of reasons. But yeah, we've been careful in identifying those tracts of lands.
Yeah, and I would just like to add too, when we're talking together like this, it's important that we understand each other fully. We, of course, are not a corporation that is interested in getting land up here and taking from them all the good things and then raising their stockholders' portfolios and then taking off. We've always been here, and we will always be here, and we have a vested interest in these lands and taking care of them in the right way, in cooperation with our neighbors, our neighbors in the county and the state and the cities. So I think it's an important thing for us to get across to you is that we're here, we've always been here, and we'll continue to be here as a partner with you.
And Angela, did you have something you'd like to add?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am having some technical difficulties, but hopefully you guys can see and hear me now.
Yes.
Yes, we
Okay.
can.
Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. So, yes, this is an effort that's been a long time in the making, and we are well prepared to take over management of these properties. We have an active fishing, wildlife, forestry program. We're developing a fire program, and we've built really strong partnerships with Oregon Department of Forestry, Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife, and our federal partners. So we are well positioned to assume ownership and management of these precious lands.
Thank you for
Do you have
that.
any, do you have any questions for us?
Commissioner Miller, do you have any questions or comments regarding this?
Yeah, well, thank you all for being here today. Chair Pigsley, I know you, we've talked, I've reached out to you and said, let's bring back joint sessions. So I'm glad we're finally here. And it's taken a little while, but we are here and this is good. I think the county needs to support you 100% in exploring what you're trying to do to get this restoration. I think we need to talk about the history. I know it just was a slice. And like you said, there's a lot of nuance too, but I think it's important that everybody understands this story. And that we make it right? Like that we work on this together. So I was just speaking as one commissioner. First and foremost, we need to coordinate with you as much as we can to facilitate your objectives. I think part of the conversation too, I want to make sure is I just get a good central point of contact who I can work with or who the county should be working with on your side, for how this is going to unfold moving forward, and that we're synced together, but also that we're looking at that forestry end too. Recently I've received notification through the specific types of lands, those ONC lands, which are a type of federal land, and that we can see that rulemaking is going to be explored again by the federal government. Now, we have been presented an MOU from the BLM in regard to just those ONC type lands. And right now, the MOU, as I understand it, just gives us a seat at the table, the county, to even be a part of those discussions. So it's something I'm monitoring closely. I believe the MOU is still in review with our legal department. So that's just a slice of this story. I think moving forward too, what I would like for us to do is make sure we coordinate and identify just what, you're talking about. Talk to our treasurer, just look at what possible revenues might be coming in, and what that might look like and how those revenues might change, just practically what will be the impact, and what is even currently happening. I think just to help me understand, do you have a forester right now, or how does that work for the tribe right now?
Angela
Bring
is our natural resource director.
Okay, Angela. Okay.
Yes.
Natural resources. Okay.
And
Yes.
we do have
Okay.
a forestry team as well. We do have a forest manager, we have a pre-sale forester, we're hiring a silviculturalist. So we're pretty well set up in the forestry department.
Okay. Great. Great. So, Angela, you are a good point of contact to really explore that side of things, it sounds like.
Yes.
So that's helpful. Okay. So just, I don't want to go too far out there, but want to be here for you, and make sure that we're of service to you and what you need to accomplish. Okay. So this is my initial thoughts.
If I could just add to I don't know if it was a question or not, but there are no ONC lands involved in this.
Oh, okay. Good. Good to take that out of the equation.
Thank
That's
you for
kind of
that.
what I was referencing by our analysis on what we understand. Lincoln County schools were funded by timber and the complicated matrix that is out there.
Yeah.
So we took
Yes.
great pains to identify lands that are uncomplicated. And
Yeah, yeah, and I'd love to learn more all about that too, right? Like it might be beyond the discussion everybody wants to get into today, but I absolutely would love to learn more. Um, this is the this side of it, buddy, as you're out. I'm very curious to just understand what you chose and what you identified, and I'm sure there is a lot of nuance to it. So we'd definitely love a sit down, buddy, with you and Angela, or just to learn, right? So looking forward to that.
And we will have some legislative language. It's
Mm,
difficult to come up with the right legislative language. And so that's
right.
our list is to have that completed, but also to share the maps with you so that you know exactly what lands we're talking about.
Do you sense any particular timelines that we need to make sure that we're getting in sync with you? Do you foresee when Hoyle might be? Does she have any timelines?
Well, as soon as we come up, I think with the proper wording in the legislation, I think she's ready to move forward.
Okay.
I
No,
couldn't
I
give you
just
specific dates.
okay. Well, I would like to thank you for presenting with that and giving us the heads up. I think having these lands actively managed, I think is a benefit for everybody. I know in the past the tribe and the county have worked really well together on a lot of things, and I look forward to continuing this, getting updates, and please keep us posted and looking forward to continuing our relationship on especially on these things, and let us know if there's anything how we can help.
Well, we appreciate your assistance and your support.
Yeah.
It's really quite outstanding, actually, when we talk to other tribal nations and different states, and they have a difficult time talking with their county commissioners, and we've just not experienced that. And so we're really grateful that we can
Yeah.
sit down and talk and agree or even disagree, but I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
No, we have to we live in the same area and we need to make sure that we work together. And I know Commissioner Thompson always has some fond stories of working with Vice Chair Lane on some things, and so he always found that to be one of the things that he really liked about being a commissioner and making sure those relationships can continue to exist.
Yeah, we even got to attend the Association of Oregon Counties with the then Commissioner Thompson and others, and it was really an eye opener and an interesting thing. So we've enjoyed that relationship for many years now, and it's a good thing. I mean, it's good for both of our constituents who are the same folks, just about. We're your constituents anyway, and anyway, we appreciate the assistance and
Yeah.
understanding.
Yeah, I just want to say something too. I grew up during that time, was a young person when Lincoln County um, supported the effort for our feeder trust, and watched the hearing when Don Young was just in awe that a county came and testified in support of a tribe. It was always completely the reversal. So I'm just completed my first term, but I'm looking forward to adding to that chapter of cooperation.
Yeah.
And what we do for our community here, and we're inextricably linked, as Bud mentioned. Neither of us are going anywhere. So I look forward to doing good work that benefits us all here in our community.
No, thank you for that. Did any of the council members have anything to add on this, just to make sure they don't get left out?
Yeah, I look for hands raised, but I don't see any.
Okay, I didn't see any. Okay. Well, thank you for that. We appreciate the updates. And like I said, I know this legislation doesn't move very fast, but you just have to be persistent and looking forward to monitoring this with you and going through it with you. Um,
Well,
okay.
and once it gets once it gets introduced, there'll be hearings, and so there's
Mhm,
plenty of opportunity for people to comment, good, bad, or indifferent. And so
mhm.
we're looking forward to it also.
Okay. Well, thank you, Chair, Madam Chair. We have Highway 229 updates. Do you have any?
Yes, we haven't received anything recently. At our last council meeting, we heard a bit about it, but we're curious since the weather is better if anything different is happening.
The last update I received was, I think, the same one that you got was about 2 or 3 weeks ago. They had an OSU student out there monitoring the site. I know they're waiting for it to dry out to do some more study out there to see what's going on. But in my discussions with ODOT at the ACT meetings, I have expressed the need to make sure that we get at least a local route. So the people that need to get to the doctors there and get to work at the casino in Lincoln City, that it's a pretty roundabout drive, and 3 hour round trip is not a nice thing to do, especially with the way that gas prices are these days.
Was it included in the emergency? I think FEMA declared an emergency in certain counties. I know it was a drought emergency, but I know the governor, I thought, had applied for funds to look at Highway 229.
Yeah,
Are you
I had not heard back from the National Declaration of Disaster that she had asked for. And I know that that part of that would have been for the highway removal, but I will look into that and see if I can find some more out.
I know it's hard to believe we have a drought disaster in the surrounding counties
Yeah, yeah,
when you think about it.
I believe it
Yeah.
had moved since we last met with the state. Didn't it? Didn't it move a little bit in
Well,
that
that's what
intervening
they
time?
said, that they were waiting for the rain to stop and to be able to do some testing. Uh, but since then, I know the governor asked for assistance, and I not heard if that was part of the FEMA funding that Oregon got. I just saw a headline that said Oregon was approved for disaster funding,
Well,
but it didn't.
101 even has its own issues. You can get launched there in a couple of those those dips.
yeah,
It's it's a movable piece of ground in a couple places there. Thank God it's drying
Yeah.
out though now.
yeah,
So
So maybe we'll hear something soon.
yeah. And I will reach out to the governor's office and see if they have any updates on that. But I know that Lincoln County was part of the National Disaster Declaration, so I will follow up and get back to you on that. Um, See if I can get any more information.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's important. I was just talking with some tribal members of ours that live on the other side of the where the bank's gone, and they routinely have to come into Siletz to the clinic, so they have a long ways to drive.
Yeah.
Not cool.
No. 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 Um, and I do know that I don't know if I think if Vice Chair was talking about the piece between Moolac Beach and Cape Foulweather, that is on their list to getting worked on too. So I think
oh,
it's going to be a continual operation. Um, the ODOT a few couple years ago, they turned that into all one project. So I'm not sure what the headway they're making on that, But I think what they're going to keep doing is repairing it in pieces, and then when something finally really goes wrong there, they're going to fix that. But I know that there was some other talk about a bypass of the area, and I'm not sure where that lays. But currently, the piece of was it about 2.5 miles of road between Cape Foul Weather and Agate Beach is considered one project now, and it is on their list, and it's not on the act list, but it's on another one of the lists of things to get worked on. Um,
Well,
Hopefully, it gets worked done sooner rather than later.
since I was a young girl traveling that road, I think we've had three different highways, and the remnants of some of them are still there.
Yeah.
Also, our chairman and Terry Thompson several years ago had looked at the West Newton from 229 just at the top of Newton Hill all the way out to the coast to 101, right? It's between Moolock and Otter Rock there where it comes out.
Beverly Beach. It was a 6 mile drive. It would if there were a road, it would for the people in Siletz and the Siletz Valley, you could get to the coast from Siletz 6 miles and come out at Beverly Beach.
But you're on the south side of the one slide. You're in between them both, where it ends up. But it's a solid main line. I worked in the woods, loaded logs off it for many years, and it's a solid. And it was kept up in good repair for a long time. I don't know what it's like now, but
Well,
anyway.
it took a four-wheel drive to get through the very low part of it because it was a kind of a creek running across the road, but it was something that Terry and I thought would be a really good idea at the time. Couldn't find the funding, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Commissioner Miller, did you have anything to add to the conversation?
Chair Pigsley, Council, your public works, do you sense that we're having a good communication between maybe our public works department and on your side? I would, love to have, now that we're talking about it, have brought in our public works director, having a little bit more insight potentially into the road situation. Should we talk to Curtis and then look into making those connections, or what's the best way to make sure our departments are talking?
Curtis is a very, very good contact because he's got his thumb on that department.
Okay, got you. So go through Curtis. Okay. Yeah, other than that, no. I think, gosh, the roads, things just never stop moving, do they? Um, so, yeah, hopefully this will get addressed. I just think we're going to unfortunately keep having to.
Well, we just don't want to see Siletz
I don't think it'll ever quite go away, will it?
We don't want to
Right.
be isolated if something were to happen on the highway to Toledo. It
Yeah.
would be a bit of a disaster. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, it would.
Commissioner Miller, to your point, I'm sure your public works department is like ours and extremely busy doing many things, but I think it's a good idea to have that familiarity there should the worst things happen. That way we're not scrambling to try and understand who we need to contact on both sides, that those lines of communication are understood. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad that's why we're really touching bases today too, just to make sure, because people, our public works director is fairly new compared to historically, right? But people are coming into our organizations, leaving our organizations, and same thing with emergency management as well. So I think just part of this exercise is making sure that we are in sync.
It's a very good, yes, I agree that we never know when the next emergency is going to be. And I know when we had the fire, we expected a earthquake or a tsunami or anything but a fire in our area when everyone had to evacuate. And so I think we learned a little bit from that on how we need to communicate during an emergency. So, yeah,
Yeah,
good
and you
lesson.
know that communication is critical because a lot of people are going to Facebook, they're going to social media and getting bad information and putting bad information out there. And we were getting calls saying Chinook Winds burned down and
Right.
just all of this stuff. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? And yeah, to decipher what is accurate during that time, it's important that we have those relationships so we can pick up the phone and call each other.
Yeah. And I live in Kaiser. And so I get calls
Mm.
during the disaster about, I don't know where to go, I don't know who to call. And so I think, okay, I'll make a call. Well, people were out there working on the road with traffic. And so there really was no one to call. So I think we learned a lot and hopefully we won't have a fire, but you never know what emergency is going to be around the corner. Yeah.
Well, and I'd like to thank, I'd just like to give a shout out to Ian, who works for the tribe. He did a really good job of representing you at the ACT meeting last week. So that was really good. He spoke very well, and thank him for showing up and getting that Toledo project on the priority list. I really appreciate him and how he just let you know he spoke very well for the tribe and represented you well.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Next, we have housing updates. I saw that you sent a memo to us, Madam Chair.
Well, we generally we had a lot of conversation with Claire when she was alive on housing development and what's going on in the county. And so curious to know what is going on in the county.
Okay. Uh, Council, did you have anything to update them on? I can give a little bit of updates what we've been doing, but not as much activity since the passing of Claire. I was sorry to say, but I know that housing remains a priority for us, city and the state. We're trying to look to do projects with Housing Authority, Habitat for Humanity, other entities. If there's a way we can work with the tribe, that would be great. I mean, I know you need your people need housing. We all need housing here,
We
and
all
it's
need housing. Yes.
yeah, better to work together. We're stronger together than we are separate.
Well, we made 23 units available in Lincoln City on top of the hill at the beginning of 45th Street for tribal casino employees, not just tribal, but casino employees. And we have designated some property in Siletz for more housing, but housing's needed everywhere everywhere in the state, but particularly in the county because of the expense, the cost of building homes over there. But because it's such a desirable place to live, the housing market is killing us money-wise.
Yes.
It affects us because we need doctors and dentists and people that come from other places. And when they can't find housing, they just don't live here.
Yeah. No, we need to make
Yeah,
sure that those providers have a place to live here because that's how we bring them here and to care for our community and not just doctors, but even our law enforcement and our teachers
Teachers,
for the
yeah.
schools. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think this coordination too is really important for us. That we understand what your state and federal relationships are to. If you go to Lincoln City recently, the tiny home village was finished. I think it's and this is part of a wildfire effort. And look how long this
Yeah.
process takes. So the more we're engaged and on the same page with what we're trying to get accomplished, because I do think there's some confusion around what the county can do. We certainly are trying to have those interagency relationships, make those improved as much as possible, but within our core services, outside of our planning department, it's how we have a seat at the table
Yeah.
with the state and feds. So I think that we're speaking with one voice is always the most important thing we can do. And because you're right, I mean, we're all contending with this challenge, but back to the coast vineyard tiny home village, I think what's amazing about it when you walk through these structures is like, wow, they're just really, really nice and great tiny homes. But you can see how much can be done even in a small space. And I think for me, it made me think, well, how much do I really need? Because so many people build big and huge, right? And to have a nice home doesn't always take big, right?
Yep, I agree.
It just needs to have enough space and that it's comfortable. And they're just great little communities. So I think it's a great example of what we can do, and that it doesn't always need to be so big. We can create more. It might just be smaller. If that's going to serve a family as an interim step, then good. Let's think about that way, right? So. Uh, on your business development side, Angela is the key lead there too, right?
Angela's natural resources. Our business development is it's called STBC. Siletz Tribal Business Corporation. And that's Ann Lewis is her name.
And Kennedy
She
was
has her office, her office is in Lincoln City.
got it. Thank you.
And so just a question. We're done with housing. How is the water issue going with the dam?
They recently changed their scope. There's two different iterations they're looking at now, keeping a lower level in them, and then actually using the one dam and not the second one because of the earthen berm. Um, the city is still in the process of doing the designing on that and go, what the best way forward. They've abandoned the brand new dam, higher dam with just due to costs and not the availability to find funding for that project. So I think going forward, they're going to be looking at those two other options, either lower levels or not using the lower dam and just using the upper dam.
Hmm.
Angela and myself participated in there were offsets because it was a fish uh, the stream there is it Big
Mhm.
Creek anyhow the costs for the hatchery or not the hatchery excuse me the cost for the ladder so they were going to do offsets and do uh, enhancement in habitat enhancement in other places near and one of those was Boone Newt Slough which revealed to me a lot of the issues that are going on with the saltwater barriers that are very old on the Uquina, and that was a whole another complex something that I wasn't keen to or aware of those water districts and how they function.
Mm,
But there's a lot of aging infrastructure, which is not news to anyone on this call, but it
Mhm.
just reiterates the work that needs to be done by us or those that come after us. So having these conversations is important. And yeah, I remember contemplating like, man, this is something I thought I would never be on the side of saying it's okay to block a stream and not have a ladder. But given the consequences and what's at stake for the water and what was possible for storage and the acre foots that water acres that could have resulted from that project for Newport and the surrounding communities and the pressure that could be alleviated from the Siletz River, it just seemed the difficult decisions we have to make as leaders. But um, yeah, I've worried about that and kind of wondered where that was because there was quite a bit of momentum, a year ago, and then it seemed to have just stalled.
Well, buddy, regardless of the mitigation that has to occur, uh, that work needs to be done regardless.
Yes.
It's something that I had my eyes open to also in this process. So,
Yeah. I will reach out to the city and have them provide you folks with an update and kind of what they're doing because earlier this month and late last month they did have two meetings about that and they did discuss this at their city council meeting. So I'll make sure that they get that information forwarded to you about their their plans going forward with the dam. I know everybody's concerned with the amount of water in the rivers right now, and it's already at late June levels, and there's not a lot of rain in the forecast. So I think we need to be sure that we keep an eye on where our stream levels are at and how we can better take care of that resource too.
And I don't know if there's levers from the county or if it would be a Newport or a city issue, but I think it would be beneficial when we go to restrictions because sometimes we beat Newport to the punch out here at Siletz.
Yeah.
We go on water restrictions here, but it's not we're talking about one voice. I feel like we would be better served if we're communicating like now's the time to do it. If we all do it, it's for the betterment.
well, yeah, we're all
Yeah.
drawn from the same well here now, and yes.
Water is the issue everywhere.
Yeah.
Well, is there any questions that we can respond to from the county? I said earlier, I really appreciate you taking the time to meet with us, and we look forward to getting back to our annual meetings.
Chair Pixley, I wanted you to know, remember I asked you for a tribal flag. I want us to fly that during powwow. I haven't forgotten about that, okay? And I
We
hope
can
everybody.
get you a tribal flag, yes.
So, yeah, I would love to see it up at least during powwow. And so I just wanted you to know that's still on my mind and need to follow through with that. I would love to hear an update from you about your cultural center museum. How's that progressing? And when are we going to anticipate that being done?
Well, we came up with a few changes. One of them, the major change, was instead of having the Culture Center Museum on Government Hill, moving it down to the land that we purchased a couple of years ago, where we have a lot more room, a lot of room for parking and other activities. And so that's been what's kept us from groundbreaking. So we're in the process of making that change and bringing the people that are helping fund along. And so we haven't broke ground down there, but we've done some of the engineering work and the infrastructure that's needed. But we're working on that as fast as we can. I know the disruption has been in moving the site.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for that. Okay. That kind of explains then where we went from the last groundbreaking to where you've pivoted.
Yeah.
It'll
Well,
also be down
we
there
identified
by,
we identified the site probably 30 years ago. And since then, we've been able to buy more property and make it more available and easier parking. Yeah, as you know, when we have an activity on Government Hill, there's very little parking. And so during the powwow, we have to bus people up on the hill. We try to accommodate as much as we can, seniors, the elders that come, but having the museum in an area where it's wide open and easily available is really a better choice for us.
and
This location would allow us to not have elevators and multiple HVAC units for each floor. The
Mm,
first build was a 3-story, one subterranean. This will allow us to avoid elevators and costly things. It's also will be adjacent to our new recreation center that's will be opening this summer.
mm.
So it's on Swan, if you're familiar with Siletz, Commissioner, just down the post office road heading west.
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah,
it'll have an expansion, the possibility for expansion too down there because you always want to have that cooked in. Anytime you build, you run out of room, and so we're doing that with that in mind. So it's a big enough area to do all those things. So
That's great.
yeah. And forgive me if I'm having a little internet connectivity on my end here and there, so it's like I'll lose someone for a little bit. Appreciate the update. Just wanted to say, meeting with the History Center, I know that they are um, very tribal forward, but I can't wait for you to get this done because I think this story, our relationship, people need to understand. The more we can educate, and I want to say maybe kind of in closing, as far as these joint sessions are concerned, really please we don't have to wait for a year. We can have the meetings when we need to have those meetings. So please accept that from my perspective as an invitation to make sure that if we need to get together and talk about shared concerns, then we can do it next week if we need to. There's nothing that really limits us to any kind of a year by year. We could do it every quarter if we wanted to. So let's keep that in mind. Let's keep that communication really agile and it's Zoom. I know we've got some technical difficulties here, but nothing that prevents us from spinning up a meeting on the fly if we need to. If we need to get together and talk about drought, emergency communications, whatever it is, I think we are here to make it happen and make it easy.
I appreciate
Thanks.
thank you.
And I've enjoyed attending your tribal council meetings. It's been very informative and very very satisfying to see how other entities do their business. And I appreciate attending and being called up to to give a quick update too. I really appreciate that. And then the discussions we have after the meeting. So
Yeah, well, thank you for
Yeah,
coming out.
and our meetings are all open to the
yeah,
public, and so we appreciate anybody that's interested to come.
yeah.
Before we get off the phone, I will let you know we have an act, and Buddy can talk about our Run to the Road, but it comes up in May, and it's May 29th, 30th, and 31st. But Buddy, why don't you talk about what we do and how we started? Because commissioners might want to join us
Sure.
somewhere along the way.
And we appreciate participation from some of your schools led by the school district. And we have a really great relationship. I'll give a pitch to Lincoln County and Philomath school districts are the model for in-service and interacting. All of their educators, new educators do in-service with myself or another team member where we talk about this history. So they do an exemplary job. Run to the rogue. So the Friday that follows Memorial Day is the start of Run to the Rogue, and this was an idea that was brought forward from membership and some non-member employees in the early 90s. And it was about healing and working through kind of generational trauma that's been has occurred throughout generations in the Siletz area. But it takes 3 days, and we it's a constant relay. So it's a run or walk or crawl, but it's Run to the Rogue, and we start at Government Hill, and our head start leads us off the first mile, and then that our staff is continually moving all day long Friday, all through the night into Saturday, and so on. And we arrive at near Agnes on the Rogue River. It's actually on the Illinois where we stop, a place called Oak Flat, and it's where the last folks who were fighting in the Rogue River Wars agreed to
Mm.
lay down their arms and confederate and
Oh.
remove to the reservation. So it is a particularly important spot. There was one more big battle after that day, and the folks who wouldn't lay down their arms there were led by Tyee John, who was a revered chief and I guess a warrior. And
Mm.
he has there's a battle at Big Bend, and the result of that, those folks, many of the people from the area were the depopulating of Southern Oregon near Port Orford and Chetco peoples and Rogue peoples. Many of them went by steamship out of Port Orford to Oregon City, and they were marched to Fort Yamhill, which you know today as Grand Ronde, but Grand Ronde
Mm.
didn't exist at that time yet. It was a military installation, and they wintered there and then were brought over to Siletz. But those that held out the longest and fought those last battles were made to march up the coast and swim every river and the bays and the estuaries, and we're recreating that march. We're
Mm.
going through all of the village sites, our ancestral homelands. There are cemeteries and known places of big events, good ones and tragic ones. So it's a remarkable, powerful act we do. And people, communities like Port Orford puts on a dinner for us, the non-tribal community there. Many of them are descendants of some of the folks that perpetrated this. So there's this big arc of like kind of reconciliation and honesty that, this vulnerability that's quite
Mm.
remarkable. And yeah, there are lots of folks, people along the way that have seen it happen for years and got brave and said, I want to, I'd like to participate. How can I help? And yeah, we do meals at Ona Beach and Washburn and make camp at Honeyman, have another meal at Bullard's Beach, all the way down the coast. And yeah, lots of folks are accustomed to it. Of course, it was disrupted. We typically did this in September, right after Labor Day, but with the frequency and the magnitude that we're growing of the fires that occurred in Oregon, made us evaluate a different time of year to run. So that started in 24, this date. So it's nice. Running in the fall on the Oregon coast is remarkable, but this time of year, it's daylight, or it will be weekend following Memorial Day up until 9 o'clock. So um, yeah, it's a good time, and we enjoy, like I said, support from schools and lots of the community in Lincoln County and beyond down the coast.
Buddy, what's a common type of team you put together for that? And like you said, you can crawl if you need, if you need to.
Uh,
Like,
so we have
how
sometimes
does it
basketball teams will
work? What would
come
you
take
recommend if someone
miles.
wants to
Oh,
put together?
um, you could reach out to our office, my office, or AJ Warren is the person who's responsible for the run now. I used to do it, did it for 13 years or so. But the one thing I like about the run that's kind of someone who planned events and was very particular about timelines and where we're going to be at places. Some of my teachers would that I learned from were like, "Hey, this one's different. We don't know if we're going to have 10 walkers in a row or 10 runners in a row. This
Mm.
if I always encourage folks just head south till you see the staff and you'll see Siletz people and cars parked at miles and um, just begin to interact with folks and ask where it's at. And it's very hard to give a hard deadline, like we'll be in Wallport at 2 o'clock on Friday. It kind of varies. We got a good estimate, but if folks want to participate or be involved, yeah, just reach out to our office here in the cultural programs. And
Okay.
you can reach out to me and I can connect the folks.
And
Well,
it's
thank you for that, buddy.
really
That'd be
cool in the start. The Head Start kids and our tribal elders do the first mile from Government Hill. And when you get there, we the elders do the last mile. So
Hmm.
Yeah, we also have a couple of ceremonial events that occur at one at Port Orford where the depopulation of a massive amount of our people occurred at Battle Rock there. I don't know if you're familiar with Battle Rock, but and then we also, as Buddy was saying at the end, we sing songs and offer prayers
Hmm.
and at the very end of the run. So it's a good, happy time. It can be a very sad time too. It's just an intense,
Wow.
emotional, kind of a roller coaster for us, but it's all done in a good way. And we just appreciate being able to honor our ancestors in that way.
and
Thank you.
we'd be happy if you wanted to attend in any of the places along the way or at the beginning or the end.
We can give you a big hill to run. No,
no, I
we have to
appreciate you too.
identify strong runners, say around Cape Perpetua, where there isn't a big shoulder. We take great pains to we go through and map all the easy ones that it's able
Uh,
for, if your abilities aren't to run, an 8-minute mile. Good wide shoulders like in South Beach, if you have a child with you. Yeah, so it's pretty organized, and lots of folks have worked on this over the years to make it what it is. And yeah,
It is very
we're all,
organized and very detailed. They know who lives at certain places, where not to stop, where we're not
yeah,
welcome.
where homeowners have
Um,
interacted with us over the years, like
so
get
they
on out
have
of
the
here.
addresses and all of that information, and
okay.
and so we conduct the safest run that we can too.
Okay.
And it's amazing the work that has gone into it over the years.
No, we look forward to getting some updates and maybe even participating. So we'll be sure and reach out to you, buddy, and get that information.
Yep. Hey, and
Okay.
by
All right.
participating, our school comes out on that mile and cheers on the Head Start. They all line the streets, and
Yeah.
so we don't expect you to, throw on the shoes and lug out a 3K. But even just showing up at Uquina Bridge, oftentimes people will gather and just cheer us on, and it means
Okay.
the world that people
Hmm.
see us and in these places and what we're doing and acknowledge it. So. Um, Yep.
No, we'll be sure and get that notifications on that.
Okay.
Get some support. So okay.
Just thought I would share that, and thank you, Buddy and Bud. Is there any other questions or anything we could respond to?
I think I'm pretty well informed, and like I said, I just appreciate being able to do this, and look forward to doing it again, and maybe see you at tribal council meeting again in the next couple months.
Good.
Nice.
Well,
Okay.
we'd like to keep you informed. Thank you for your support and for the time. I know how busy you must be.
Well,
Yeah,
we always have time for you.
yeah. And I would say we did, there was a town hall for the enhanced law enforcement service district. Commissioner Chuck and I were, both there, and uh, appreciate that relationship, and we'll keep you up to date on that
Okay.
as well. So
Good.
want to make sure those services are
Right.
working.
Right. Well, thank you. I appreciate the time and the ability to sit down and have a conversation. I'm going to adjourn this virtual work session April 30th, 2026 at 11:03. Thank you very much, and we will see you in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.